And welcome everyone to an NABC chat. I'm Andy Katz, pleased to be joined by Colorado State head coach Niko Medved. The Rams are off to a phenomenal start. One of the few undefeated teams. Here we are in mid-December. Really sort of opened everyone's eyes in the way they defended Creighton. Under 50 for the Blue Jays and winning the tournament in Kansas City, beat the in-state rival Colorado. There are baby steps. But this program has taken leaps over the last couple of weeks and months. Niko, how did you get this program to where you are right now? Top 20, top 25, I think top 10, personally, at this point in the season. How did you get here?
Well, it's a culmination of work over time. 2 years ago, we were a top 25 team as well. We had David Roddy and Isaiah Stevens was part of that group too, and had a great season and was a 6th seed in the tournament. We obviously got beat by Michigan in the first round. Last year was a tough year. I mean, we obviously lost a NBA first round draft choice right before the deadline. We had a myriad of injuries. But we finished the season really strong. And then, it really started with Isaiah Stevens deciding he was going to come back for a 5th year. We had some returners who really, really improved, believed in our culture, what we were doing. And we did a really nice job of finding some guys in the transfer portal that were great fits for our program. And, Andy, I felt in the summer we had a chance to be a really good team. The way these guys were working, our athleticism, our connectedness. And then we played our 2 close scrimmages against a couple high major opponents. We performed pretty well. And then it's just been one of those deals. We scheduled up, and we found a way to win these games. And so it's been sorry about my voice here. It's been an awesome ride so far, but we're still early on. But it starts with Isaiah Stevens. When you have, in my opinion, one of the best point guards in the country, knows what we do inside out. He's an incredible person and leader, and he's really the one that's kind of started this whole thing.
Let me go back a little, because the Mountain West, and as you know, I've been covering sort of different forms of that league for 30 years when it was the old WAC and everything. But historically, outside of like that run by, the late Rick Majerus with Utah, it has not performed well in the NCAA tournament. And even in this new formation of it, bids have not been a problem. It's been winning games and seeds. You guys had a 6 seed 2 years ago. Go back to when San Diego State, had that 2 seed, I think, if we're not mistaken. But last year, the Aztecs get to the title game, which really I would hope, awoke sort of this league and everyone else to say, wait a minute, this is a really good league. Tournament's one and done. What do you think that did for the rest of you to say, like, yeah, we can all do this? The lane is there for us.
I agree with that. I mean, ultimately, our sport, the work is done in the regular season to get where you want to get to, but ultimately March is the big stage and you got to find a way to perform and win games. And we have struggled to do that as a league. What San Diego State did last year was just phenomenal. I think it really energized everybody. It put more eyes on our league and with the quality of basketball that's being played. So I think that was massive, and maybe that just opens up the floodgates. Because I tell you what, when I was here as an assistant, 12, 13, 11, 12, we were getting 4 or 5 teams in the tournament. Then the league took a little bit of a dip, in my opinion. Now we're coming off back-to-back years with 4 teams in. Boy, this year looks poised again, to have multiple teams in the tournament. Terrific league, terrific coaches, terrific quality of play. But you're right, we have to keep finding ways then to perform in March.
Well, and I think that, the net comes out, which has been favorable, I think, to the Mountain West as well. And to me, the early net with you guys being a top 10 net team in the first set of the rankings, that also speaks to your scheduling. Now, you schedule for who you have as your personnel. I'm old enough to remember that it's very difficult. And I know Stu Morrill didn't really like to do this kind of stuff, but and I don't think Neely Boyd Grant did either. But I mean, to get people to go home and home in Fort Collins, not easy. People just don't want to do it. And so you have to find ways to get good games. And you've done that for the most part. And obviously it's great. Then you got the in-state game with Colorado. What were you thinking when you tried to put this thing together, not knowing that, I mean, you're going to definitely play Creighton. You didn't know that. You do, you beat them. What were you thinking when you put this thing together?
Andy, I've always tried to have a philosophy of scheduling up, and for a couple of reasons. One, I feel like I owe it to our team. When we recruit these guys, they want an opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament. We sell the Mountain West as a multiple bid league. You can come here, play on the big stage, have access to the tournament. I don't ever want to look back at the end of the year and say that I didn't give our team an opportunity to do that. So even look at last year, we scheduled tough last year. We had a schedule good enough, to do. We just didn't perform, for a variety of reasons. We did it 2 years ago. This year, the same thing. I didn't want to look back at the end of the year and say we didn't give ourselves a chance. I didn't want that regret. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. Clearly for our league, those multiple team events, MTEs, are huge. Finding access to those games on a neutral court, some of these one-off neutral opportunities. We just played Washington out in Vegas, which was a great game. I'm very thankful we have this series, like you mentioned, with Colorado. Tad has a great program. I think they're a terrific team this year as well. And then, we're just finishing our 4-year deal with St. Mary's. Randy and I have done that. I think it's been a great game for both of us. So I think you have to try to create those opportunities for us and, to be honest, for our league.
So, all right. So now you're dealing with injuries. As we're talking here in mid-December, Josiah Strong, Jalen Lake, they're going to be out for a little stretch here before you get back into the Mountain West. And you mentioned the Mountain West. I mean, we've got you guys, San Diego State, Nevada, New Mexico. That's 4 right now that I could say could easily, not easily, but could be in the tournament. And I would not dismiss Utah State. I still think Boise's going to have a good year when all things are done. They've had a rough schedule. So none of these are going to be easy. We know that, but there's going to be a lot of teams. How do you manage now this portion? You have, not as many games at the holidays, but how do you manage with these injuries now?
It's the cliche, next man up. Well, that's true, and we've got some young players in the program we really think have a chance to be terrific. They're growing. They work their tail off every day. Kyan Evans, a freshman from Kansas City, who's gotten a lot more minutes here the last few games and has really performed. Tavy Jackson's a young guy last year who really was coming on, dealt with injuries here, had knee surgery in the offseason, has just kind of coming back healthy. He got thrust into the fold last night. And so we're going to have to rely on those guys really stepping up, in the short term. And I think what that does is obviously it allows those guys to get more minutes. I think it hopefully makes you a stronger team as you get into league play. And it's great for the future too of the program. Those guys getting opportunities in high pressure situations to perform. So might, have some guys play more minutes. Maybe we have to slow down a little bit, all those things. But every season has adversity. So far, this team's had an A. I mean, Patrick Cartier, our starting center, goes down the second possession against Creighton. He was out. Jalen Lake played with a broken finger against Colorado. Neat Clifford got kicked out, thrown out of the game 5 minutes into the Washington game. And so far, this team has responded, and that's just what we have to continue to do.
2 last quick things. One, what makes Isaiah Stevens an elite playmaker?
He has an incredible feel and instincts for the game. I mean, he sees it before it happens. He's always had that, but it's really at an elite level now. He knows our system and what we want to do inside and out. There's nothing in college basketball he hasn't seen. The toughest road environments, home, adversity, you name it. And Andy, he is the best leader I've ever been around. He's an incredible human being and leader. And so he's just a once in a generation player.
All right. When I was there in the 90s, I've mentioned to you this before. They would put the live ram, sheep, whatever it was, by the opposing bench, and it would relieve itself in that area, adding a little bit of a stench. Any chance that ever comes back?
You know what's so fun? I'm actually kind of glad you reminded me of that, Andy. Like, we don't do that now. Maybe that's something we do need to bring back. We've still got, the ram that lights up and behind the basket there where a lot of our students are. I mean, that's awesome. But I do think we need to bring Cam back out maybe to relieve himself, like right by the opposing court. So that's funny. I've never experienced that. So you are the ultimate basketball historian. So I actually kind of wish I'd seen that. So
And I will tell everyone watching, Moby Arena is one of the hidden gems. When that place is packed, it is loud.
Awesome.
It's got this like, on the outside of the architecture, it's got that like dip.
Yep.
I don't know if that adds to the sound bouncing off the corners, but it's certainly one of my favorite spots to go to. Niko, I appreciate, thrilled that you guys are off to a great start, and we're going to watch this team going forward. I know we're going to see you guys in March as well.
Hey, thanks, Andy. Really appreciate you. Appreciate you covering us.